Hey everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we're here with my blind reaction to Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 Episode 6. So before we get into everything else, I want to show something off real quick. So these are my new headphones. These are fat as hell. Look how they look on my head. They're massive. They're a set of Bluetooth gaming headphones that my sister gave me. She doesn't like the way they feel on her head, and she decided instead of letting them just go to waste and everything, she'd let me have them. So I tested these out, and they appear to work fine, unlike previous Bluetooth headphones I've tried, which for some reason cause issues in recording audio. Not my audio, but the audio of the episodes and everything. But these seem to work fine. Like, I have the Bluetooth dongle in, and as long as I have these turned on, it seems to record everything just fine. But in case I ever need it, I do have this, which if I just plug this little bit here into the actual headphones, I can use it like a regular headphone jack as well. So in case anything ever happens or any issues ever arise, there is that. But I did test it. I wanted to make sure it worked before I tried doing it with an actual, episode reaction. Because otherwise there would be a lot of editing to try and get that to work. Because the issue is, I had like these Bluetooth headphones before, these little foldable ones, where if I tried using them, it wouldn't record the audio of anything but me. Like, it would record my audio, but the audio of the episode and whatnot would not come through, and I have no fucking clue why. I never figured it out. I could just not figure out how to fix it either, but it would not record the audio of whatever I was watching. And this was like back on the old channel, I believe, and everything. There was like a reaction that had no audio, and I had to actually edit the audio in to the reaction. Which basically means I had to take the episode, convert it to audio only, and then match it up with the video, the reaction, and it's just like, it's not impossible to do, it's just a lot of work. And on top of that, it makes the file size of the reaction much bigger, which for most sites means it's going to take a lot longer to upload and process. But again, I tested this out, I checked it to make sure that the file would come, that when I tried recording, it would come through with the audio. Also, I noticed one thing in recent reactions, that my audio has been low compared to the audio of the episodes. And I noticed this, like, especially with Netflix stuff. I think I'm having the audio on the episodes turned up a little too high. And these headphones actually have a little audio adjuster here, have a little dial. So I can adjust my own audio, presumably without affecting the audio capture. Because the audio level, this just adjusts the audio level that's coming into the headphones. Presumably the audio level that is actually playing on the computer will remain the same. It'll still be capturing the audio at the level that is listed, I guess you could say, on the site in case of Netflix, or on the player in case of using VLC. So hopefully I'll be able to fix that issue, because I've noticed that with a couple reactions lately, especially for like One Piece LA, that my audio has been a little low to where it's like you can almost barely hear me at points unless I'm being loud. So if that was ever an issue for any of you, I do apologize, but yeah. So we're going to be testing these out today. seeing how well they work. They are fully charged. I did figure all of that out ahead of time. Um, but yeah, I wanted to make sure on all of that. So all of that out of the way now, though, there's not too much to talk about going into this because we're going into a new arc. We finished the Gojo's past arc or whatever the fuck you want to call it last episode, and I gave all my thoughts on that and my thoughts on how I feel like it was not as well handled as it could have been. But apparently it's a really popular one because people just like Gojo, which is fair. Which is fair, but in the end I think it could have been handled better. The ideas were fine, the ideas were good. I just think the handling of it was a little weak. But now we go into a new arc and we're getting back to our main cast, the ones I'm much more invested in, if I'm being honest. Because while I like Gojo, it's like I'm just more invested in Yuji, Nobara, and Megumi than I am in Gojo. It's like I like Gojo more because he's pretty. It's like he's super fucking attractive. He's really funny. Kaiji Tang does a great job as his voice. But he's not like the character I'm watching this for. You know what I mean? It's like as much as I like him, I'm watching this for our main cast. I'm watching this series because of the likes of Yuji, Nobara, Megumi, hell, even Maki, and to a degree, characters like Todo, Mai, others like that as well. They're the ones who are the focus and the ones I want to pay the most attention to. Gojo is like a bonus, you could say. He's hot, he's likable, he's funny as hell, but he's a bonus. He's a supporting cast member who just happens to be super enjoyable to watch. And as I noted before, this past arc with his past is definitely just set up for the future, which could have been handled differently. We didn't need an entire 5-episode arc to express what was said there. They could have done this setup in a lot shorter of a time. And honestly, I feel like a lot of this setup was already kind of there. Because whether you're talking the manga or the anime, the Zero portion of the series already occurred. It preceded the main series of the manga, and the movie came out between seasons for the anime. And that alone gave, honestly, enough. It told us everything we really needed to know about Gojo and Geto having a past together, being best friends and former allies. Like, we got that information. We didn't need a massive emphasis like this. And I'm sure that there's other stuff that is set up in that arc as well. But that's very clearly the main thing they're trying to set up, Gojo and Geto's relationship. And it's like, again, it was just already kind of set up. This wasn't needed. And it wasn't, again, the ideas in it and the actual story itself of it wasn't bad. It was just, it was overly long for what it needed to be. And on that same note, it's just like, it could have been told in a different way. The fact that it just threw us into it, I didn't like. I feel like it should have been like presented like from the start as like Gojo telling his students about this, or at least showing that he's reminiscing about this instead of like only showing at the end, oh, he's waking up from a dream. It's like that feels cheap. Um, I just feel there was better ways to handle all of that arc, but yeah, it's behind us now. We're moving on to the actual main story again, and I'm excited to see where all of this goes. Yuji is getting stronger, Nobara and Megumi are continuing to get stronger. We're past the cross promotional school event, and we're on to whatever happens next. Um, I'm just excited to see more of this because this series has proven itself to be quite good. Um, and I've heard it only gets better. So, yeah, I'm excited to see. We also had at the end of the last season, Nobara and Yuji took down those two demon brothers, and it looks like they had an older third brother who was with Gato and Mahito and all of them. So we have another villain there. Plus, we have as well. There's also that monk kid in the robe who we don't know anything about. All we know is they have white hair, I guess, and it looked like I believe there was a red streak in it. But it's like that was set up, and we haven't gotten anything about yet. I presume Yuta is going to return from his overseas trip during this arc, because that was obviously set up by the movie's release being between seasons. Um, I definitely think Yuta's going to return. Um, I'm just excited, you know? I'm just excited for more, and I would actually like to see Yuta meeting with Yuji. That would be interesting. They're similar in a lot of ways, but they're also pretty different in a lot of ways. But I also think they would be good friends. They just seem like they would be. Also, seeing Gojo's two wards kind of join together like that would be cool. Like, Gojo is so fiercely protective of both of them. It's pretty great, and you could kind of add Megumi to that group as well, because we now know that Gojo had been taking care of. Well, we already kind of knew that. We already knew Gojo was taking care of Megumi since a young age, but it's more emphasized now. So it's like the three of them coming together, like especially if all three of them were like fighting together during some part of the arc, that would be really cool. Maybe have Gojo watch on with a tear in his eye. That would be hilarious. That would be amazing. But either way, so yeah, we start the new arc. I just don't know what to expect. I believe I mentioned last time, I know like a couple out of context things that come up, but it's like it's just like a couple of them, and they're, to my knowledge, so out of context. I have no idea how they could even be explained. So it's like I don't know how any of that's going to occur. I just know those two things, basically. I think it's only two things, at least that I can remember. But I'll bring them up when we get to them, provided I remember. For now, though, sorry for this long intro. A lot of that was just introducing you to the new headphones and all. But let's get this going. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black, then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, kicking off a new arc is always pretty interesting in a lot of these shonen, because a lot of times you have to do a lot to set up the new arc. Unless it's like certain arcs in like some shows like One Piece or whatnot, or Naruto, where the arc has been set up by previous arcs, like Alabasta, for example, in One Piece, was set up by pretty much every arc since Reverse Mountain. Reverse Mountain, Whiskey Peak, Little Garden. Not as much Drum Kingdom. That one was more isolated. But all the rest kind of set up Alabasta. So they didn't have to do as much setup at the beginning of that. But with a lot of these where the arcs are a little more isolated from each other, there is a lot of setup they have to do and a lot of like downtime as well. You see a lot of that in this episode where it's like, oh, Yuji, Nobara, and Megumi are just hanging out. They're just hanging out. They're going to go see a movie together, apparently. We see Megumi and Nobara realizing that it's like that with this girl who has a crush on Yuji and has since middle school. She used to be overweight, but since moving to Tokyo and everything, she's not only slimmed down but also shot up. She's hit like a massive growth spurt and has gotten really tall. And Yuji recognized her right away because, of course, he did. It's Yuji. He's like that. It was a cute little segment here. There's some interesting expressions with Nobara and even a little bit with Fujigoro there. It was just it was fun. That's a really good way to put it. It was very fun. But we also saw kind of the aftermath of Toto and Mai, or it is Mai, right? Not May. Is it May? Now I'm questioning things. Is it Mai or May? Either way, we saw the aftermath of them recommending the sorcerers to be upgraded to first grade. Not first class, first grade. And we kind of learn a little bit more about how the process works. After recommendation, the sorcerers being recommended have to go through 2 rounds of testing. First, they have to go on missions with first grade sorcerers, and it can't be the ones who recommended them. So they have to go on missions with the first grade sorcerers, and do well enough to move on to the next stage, in which they go on missions themselves on their own. And at that point, if they prove themselves, they gain first grade. I believe it's if they pass the first stage, they're upgraded to semi first grade. If they then pass the second stage as well, that's when they get the full first grade status. Which I believe every one of the ones who are recommended will get. Obviously our main trio, but we also had Maki and Panda being recommended. And yeah, I think that they'll get it as well. I just feel like it's pretty obvious. We also have a mission at the end here, which I presume is one of these testing missions. So they go on a mission with Utahime. And they are called in because there is presumed to be a mole in the Kyoto branch. And they presume it to be Mechamaru, specifically because everyone else wasn't suspicious. No one else was sus, so it just comes down to him. And it ends up actually being him. It ends up actually being that simple. And that's surprising, because not too many shows do that. A lot of shows try to pull the rug out from under you. Oh, it's never the suspicious guy. The suspicious guy, it's too obvious. It's too obvious. It's not going to be him. But there's occasionally a show or a movie or a game or whatnot that'll be like, we know you're going to think that. We know that you're going to think it's not going to be the obvious guy. So we're going to make it be the obvious guy to catch you off guard. It's exactly who you think it would be. And it's like, I kind of appreciate that every once in a while. To where it's just like, it's just obvious. It's not a big surprise or anything. Like, I think the biggest surprise would be if it were Miwa. Because she's so fucking nice. I could never see Miwa being an informant for the bad guys. But I think she would be the biggest surprise, but also kind of the out of nowhere choice would be the witchy girl. I can't remember her name right now. She would kind of be one that I just would never think of suspecting, but would be an interesting kind of twist to see her as the informant. But instead, again, it's just the obvious choice of Mechamaru. We find out that it is true that he is giving information to Mahito and Geto, but it's because of a pact. And the other side of the pact is that they have to heal him, specifically Mahito using his abilities. They have to heal his body, and afterwards they plan to fight, and they plan to kill him. So he's been prepared for this, and because of that, after he is healed, he sends a bunch of his puppets out to distract Mahito from the fight. This allows him to escape, but eventually plan an even bigger attack using a new giant mech that he's created. So it looks like he does want to try and stop them, and it's said that he also has the goal of getting to Gojo for protection. It's very clear that Mechamaru's not a bad guy here, and that he's doing this for the purpose of, getting his body back. It's, you could say, selfish desires, but I kind of understand why he would want to, have his body fixed in this situation. It kind of makes sense. But we can see that even though he's been feeding this information, even though he's been doing this all, he's not a bad person. He wants to get to Gojo, tell him and everyone else all of what is being planned with Shibuya, which we know now this is called the Shibuya Incident Arc, based on the opening, which I'll talk about. But he's planning on telling what the bad guys' plans are. He is an actual detriment to the bad guys if he gets away. But they don't seem too worried. They really don't. So either Mechamaru is going to die, which would suck after he got back his body, or he is actually going to get away, and the good guys are going to find out about the Shibuya plan. It's literally one of the two options. I'm kind of hoping it is the second option, though. It's like, while it would be wild for them to just kill him off like this, I want him to succeed here. I want him to get through this and survive. I just feel like it would be better for the story and all. For him to, even if he gets notably injured, I want to see him get out of there and get to safety. We did see that Utahime and the trio arrived at what they thought was the right place, but is clearly wrong. Presumably Mechamaru knew they were going to be coming for him and was moved to a different location. That would be the only guess I could think of. But yeah, this is a really interesting setup. Now let's talk about that opening. I mentioned in the reaction that opening looks dark, and not just like visibly based on the lighting and the coloring and all. Obviously it looks dark from that. But everything about the way the opening is set up, even just the visuals of everyone standing or walking around there, and yes, the colors and everything as well, it all feels very dark and ominous to me. Let me just go to it real quick here, just to see it again, because you see, like, there is like constant red lighting for one, but like it starts off with like Yuji and all the others walking through like this nighttime festival setting, but it's all very ominous and dark. Nobody seems happy. Nobody seems like things are going well. Basically, they're all just walking ominously with this red lighting. You see Gojo and Gato, and it just feels very like scary almost. And then it just goes to all of them just standing there, looking extremely serious. Characters walking around, and then like the most energy you see before anything else, you see Mahito start like skipping through a train car, just violently and horrifically murdering everyone he comes across with glee. In fact, at the end, right before it switches to the next shot, he literally spins around and like spreads out his arms in like joy, which is very fitting for Mahito. It's also a frightening prospect. It then zooms in on a view of the villains from behind. You see everyone there that we've already met. Before going back to Yuji, looking like he's panicking. Shots of like some murals under red candle lights. It's all very ominous and scary. It's a very dark looking opening that just really implies a lot of, I wouldn't say like horror stuff coming, but maybe. I mean, it's very possible. But I would say more intense, frightening, maybe even tragic shit coming. It's gonna get very wild. It's not going to be. I don't think this arc is gonna end very happily. um, just based on this imagery, it looks just extremely dark and extremely bleak. I think at least someone is going to die. I can't say who. The opening does not give enough information for that. Someone is going to die, and I would say that it's probably going to be a notable character at least, like someone who's at one of the schools. I don't think it's going to be any of our main cast from either of the schools. Maybe one of the Kyoto students I could maybe believe. I'm just trying to think who from the Kyoto branch could I possibly see dying that would leave an impact, because the witch girl, no, it wouldn't leave as much of an impact for the viewers and whatnot, or the readers of the manga. Todo and Mai Zenin, yeah, Mai. It's Mai for her. May is the blue haired girl. Mai is Maki's sister. Okay, that's how I have to remember it. Those two, Todo and Mai, I think I would be the most likely. I would say, like unless it's just Mechamaru, but I feel like, I don't know. I almost feel like that wouldn't be big enough. You know what I mean? Miwa dying would be quite a big shock because, again, she's just super nice and everybody likes her. Like, that's one that I could see working. The bow and arrow guy, I don't remember his name right now. I don't think that would leave as big of an impact either. Todo, Mai, and Miwa, I think, would be the big three ideas for the Kyoto branch. I don't see anyone from the Tokyo branch being killed. It just doesn't feel like a possibility. Unless you count like the teachers, because I haven't even talked about them. I could possibly see Yaga dying. And in terms of like other teachers we've seen, maybe Utahime, but I also kind of doubt that. I doubt May as well. I don't think she's gonna die. Nanami is a possibility. Nanami I could see, and that one would leave an impact because he's actually really popular. I don't know. Gaku Ganji wouldn't make a lot of sense. I don't think he's gonna die. In fact, I think there's a better chance of Yaga dying and Gakuganchi trying to take over the Tokyo branch too, which would be very bad for a number of reasons. Um, yeah, I guess we'll just have to end up seeing because this is all speculation, of course. I don't know. Like I said, there's basically like two things that I know about, and I'm just gonna tell you right now, it has nothing to do with a character death. It's two very out of context things. I don't know how they occur or what causes them or anything like that. I don't know what anything about them is. I just know I know I've seen images basically. I've seen images, so I know two things. Well, okay. I just know two things happen. Again, I don't know the context behind them whatsoever. I'll leave it at that because I think I'm explaining things poorly here. But yeah, it's like again, I will say neither of them are character deaths, so you don't have to worry about that necessarily. I don't know what to expect going forward with this. But if this arc is the entire rest of the season, it's going to be a big one for sure. Um, and the opening definitely implies that. So, in the meantime, I guess just tell me what you thought of this episode, of episode 6 of Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2. And for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. So, see y'all next time.